Hello, welcome back to Railroads Online. Uh, Today's going to be a little bit different from the last several episodes that we've done, in that we are going to be doing another running session. Yes, we are back with the locomotives this time. Uh, that said, I do have an admission to make. I went ahead and completed the line off camera. So we now have a full tested functional line running from the sawmill up to the smelter. Uh, that said, we don't have enough rolling stock to get everything working. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be trying to build up the rolling stock in the various industries along the route. I did manage to get 3 coal cars the other day, but that's all I really had money for in game. But with the next few deliveries that we're going to be doing today, I think we could probably get a few more. That's going to be the first industry that we try to get going. Of the 3 main ones that we do right away. Uh, the thing with that is that I've got to get the ore mine and the smelter running before I get the coal mine running. So despite the fact that we're trying to get it running first before we try and get anything else going, it's going to be the third on the list. If that sounds confusing, believe me, it was confusing to me I until I did a little bit of thinking on it, and it actually makes a lot more sense than it might seem. We need the coal in order to buy the more powerful locomotives because you can't run a locomotive without fuel, and the more powerful locomotives they run on coal, so we have to do that. Now, I did just before I started recording this morning. I did go ahead and pull Eleonora out and got the locomotive serviced, so it's sitting there on in the siding just over there where the crosshairs are, ready and waiting to go. But we're going to be bringing out the Montezuma, and we're going to be using that to bring our trains over here so we can actually build bring our rolling stock over to this depot so we can actually so that we can actually build our trains, because there's actually not enough room at the lumber yard to build the train that we need to put together in order to take it up the mountain, which is going to entail a train of approximately 20 to 25 cars. I did the math this earlier this morning. I had a little bit of an interruption before I could start recording, but I did the math this morning, and we have more than enough cordwood cars sitting at the sawmill now to make a full load of a full load of cordwood to go up to the smelter to get it populated and to get it ready to run. Now, I did not test the line with the Montezuma here, but I am relatively confident that with a 5 car train, the Montezuma could feasibly make the trek up the mountain. It's a 1% grade, about 99% of the run up the mountain. Um, so as far as that goes, the Montezuma could, in fact, do some of the lighter duty freight runs up the mountain if it turns out that it can manage a 5 car load. I have my doubts considering what happened on the switchbacks. In fact, I have serious doubts about it considering what happened on the switchbacks. But it can always be something that can be tested later. For right now, though, I think just keeping the Montezuma down here on the in the valley would probably be the better option. Uh, but with that said, we are going to be we are going to be we are going to be moving the cordwood up the mountain today with Eleonora, who is sitting there in that siding back there. Now, I've done a little bit of work down here in the valley as far as expanding the line just a little bit. Not too much. I actually, pretty much all I did down here was was to put a turntable down here so that we could actually turn the locomotives that come up here for the cordwood. And that is something that we're going to be doing before we, that's something that we are going to be utilizing before we put together this crane of cordwood. But we're going to be taking the consist down to the central station one string at a time. You can see our little yard here is actually fully loaded now. So we're just going to come up here, and all I did was extend this out a little bit. Once we get the larger locomotives, this turntable will be more useful. But for now, it's kind of just here to help out where it's most essential, which is over here. I need to be on this side, which is over here on the cordwood side of the lumber yard. The reason we're not pulling the porters out or the tank engines out is because all we're doing is pulling the loaded cars. We're only going to be pulling about 3 rakes of these out. And we don't really need to have the yard locomotives to pull these out. So, mainly for the fact that they're going to be going down to the central depot and being put into a waiting area. One of the sidelines there in the yard. But it shouldn't be shouldn't be too difficult to get these trains pulled out one at a time. I know the Montezuma won't handle 3 rakes of these, but that's not really that big of a deal. We can do 3 of them, one at a time. We can do 1 rake at a time, so that's not too big of an issue. So we're actually going to start with this far rake, or the rake closest to the turntable there. And when we go to put these back in their respective sidings, we will actually go ahead and refill them. But I will probably do that off camera. For now, though, basically all we've got going for us is just getting the cordwood up to the smelter. We've got to take some empties up to the, or actually they're not going to be empty, but we got to take some stake cars up as well. So we're going to be taking 3 of these. We're probably going to split it into 2 trains. So we've got 2 rakes of these going up at once, and then we've got 1 rake going up with the stake cars, which we're going to have loaded with either the planks or the beams. I haven't decided which yet, but we need a pretty large amount of both. Far more than just what we can take with the train that we've got sitting over there by the sawmill. So we'll see when that time comes as to what we can do. But for the most part, the story of the day is getting the cordwood up to the smelter. But I figure, why waste a trip with just the cordwood when we can take the cordwood and the material to get the ore mine producing as well. Alrighty, I am back. We are going to actually drop this rake right here. We've got to go around it. See, the actual train is facing the direction that, or the locomotive is facing the direction that we'll ultimately need to go. So I'm gonna leave that rake there and go and pick up the other one. And the reason we got to go around it is because we don't particularly need the locomotive to be in the middle. I did test this out the other day with a load of cordwood, just to make sure that everything was connected and that it worked. And Eleonora had zero problem at all making it up the hill with five cars of cordwood. So we will see if we can do 10. And I am actually going to be bringing all 15 over here. And then when I get that 15, which the next two rakes I'm going to drop in this yard, or the line right next to the one we just dropped. And I'm going to go and get the state cars, so that we can do two things here. With the state cars, I've still got the caboose attached to them from when we were just delivering to that central depot. So that's going to need to be shunted around to the other end of the train, and we're going to have to build the second train with the state cars. Now I'm thinking I'm just gonna bring 5 out, but I've still got to bring the whole train to get that caboose. Which, that's not too bad, not too big of a problem. But it's gonna take a little bit of doing. So this is just a little bit of work that we've got to do before everything gets moved around and taken up to where we need to take it. Okay. Do a nice easy stop. Perfect. Oops. There we go. Now see, I'm kind of particular about how I stop the locomotive. I don't particularly like just bumping into the cars. I prefer to have a nice easy coupling versus just ramming the couplers together. Okay, what's the deal here? Why do we... Are we just not gonna... Did I put the brake on instead of taking it off? Why are we not moving? I know this train can do this. Aha. That's why. And that would also explain why I had such an issue putting them here. Or putting them in here. See, if you remember early on, we only had 5 or 6 bulkhead cars that we were planning to use to take the cordwood back and forth to the central depot. Well, after getting the line built, I went ahead and bought a fair few more. So that's that's pretty much why it's loaded now. But dang it. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to go on that outside line for a second. Let's just go do that and reset our switch for the next trip, because I am something of an idiot and forget to do things. So something else I want to talk about throughout this video, but to start out here, I wanted to talk about, you know, what I plan to do in the new year. Okay, whoa, wait a minute. I think we're on the wrong line here. No one, yeah, we are. Dang it. Okay. So that's not going to work. We ended up on the wrong line. Let's see if I can get it to go in reverse here. There we go. So basically I want to talk about what my plans are for the new year, and you know what I've noticed just in the time that I've been doing videos this year. And I want to get you guys' opinion. As of the recording of this video, I've got a grand total of 12 subscribers to the channel, which I'm very grateful for. I am very grateful for. You know, when I started this channel earlier this year, I was under the impression that it would be 2, 3, maybe even 4 years before I even got 1 subscriber. So I am insanely appreciative of the subscribers that I do have. So I kind of want those of you who are subscribed, and even those who aren't, who are considering subscribing, I'd like to know what your opinion is on this, on my plans for next year. But in a nutshell, I've noticed that that the BioShock episodes are averaging about 3 views per video, 3 to 4 views per video. So I'm not really sure after I get the additional content for it, which came with the game. Keep that in mind. The additional content that came with the game, after I get that recorded, I'm not entirely sure that I am going to do BioShock 2 right away. I'm thinking possibly middle of the year next year, if I go ahead and do it. But something that I have noticed is that these Railroads videos do really well, and I'm actually rather surprised. Apparently this is a really popular game for those who like to watch. But that said, this map is actually getting pretty close to being completed. So I'm kind of at a loss as to, you know, what exactly to do regarding Railroads Online. Now, I do plan to release this map. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of control over, you know, who plays this map on the game by themselves, but for the particular layout that I've got on this map, um, I plan on releasing it for multiplayer. And in doing so, what I want you guys' opinion on is, do you guys want to see a public multiplayer stream, or would you be more interested in a pre-recorded multiplayer? If it would be the latter, I would have to round up a few friends of mine to come in and join on the server. Now, there and again, that wouldn't be too much of an issue to do. It would take a little bit more work, but it wouldn't be too much of an issue. It would just be a little bit of coordination and all that. But yeah, that's basically what I'm wondering on this map. Now, with the other maps, I do think that I would like to try my hand at building out new lines. So there's 3 other maps on this game, and each of them has its own challenge. Each of them has its own set of, oh, that was lucky. Each of them has its own set of difficulties. The easiest map by far, and I started out with one of the more difficult ones, the easiest map by far is the Pine Valley map, which was actually the map that this game started with originally. And that one, you really only have one option as to where you put everything. But I do plan to put a layout on it, which, you know, that wouldn't be too big of an issue. But as far as that goes, I'm almost wanting you guys to get a little bit more involved, and give me your suggestions for locomotive names, for naming the actual railroad that for each particular map, because not everything has to be preordained as what I'm actually attempting to do. Okay, so we're gonna bring this rake in around the first rake, and we're gonna put the two. You see, we've got two rakes sitting here in the sidings. I showed you that when I pulled in. But we're gonna go around these two, and we're gonna put this current rake of bulkhead cars on this far line with the first one that we brought up. Now, I really should have done it with the other rake, with the last rake that we brought up, but I wasn't thinking about it right off. I was kind of still up in the air as to what I wanted, how I wanted to build these two trains, but I think that's what we're going to do ultimately. Is put this rake in with the first rake that we brought up, which won't be a problem. But yeah, as far as the next map goes, I'd like you guys to get a little bit more involved and give me suggestions for locomotive names, for locomotive numbers. 69 I know would be an obvious one to get, but let's try to keep it a little bit more mature than that. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, sure, I'll number a locomotive that, but let's try and stay away from the adult-themed jokes for the vast majority of what we're doing here. Because this series that I have on this channel, I would like to keep this one more family friendly, specifically because of the content. I know children like uh, railroading, model railroading, and things like that, and that's pretty much what I equate this to. Um, that said, uh, I'm not above suggestive names, suggestive numbers, things like that. But just, keep it a little bit PG as far as that goes. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. This map has still got a few build episodes left, a few running sessions left, and then I'll be moving it to multiplayer. And I will start sending out, or I'll start quote unquote advertising for people interested in playing this alongside me, either on Steam or on Kick or here on YouTube. And if I do Kick, I will share the link to the stream before I go live. It'll be probably a couple, 3 episodes before I go live with the stream. Okay, so with that, we have our first train completed, and we can bring that caboose sitting there over here to this train. That won't be an issue at all. But what I want to do is I want to go and get the caboose, which is still on this rake. I want to get this caboose off of here. So we need to bring out 5 of the stake cars alongside the caboose. So we're going to go ahead and, whoops, I shouldn't have closed out the map. I need to set my switches right. But we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to make up the second half of that other train. Now this is the kind of basic maneuvers that we would need to be doing in multiplayer, just to make everything kind of function smoothly. But, as I've said throughout the entire series, multiplayer would make this game much, much easier. It makes everything run a lot smoother, and it's kind of a necessity for this game to work. What I'm doing is the very minimum of what needs to be done to make this game actually enjoyable. With multiple other people in the server, you would have a number of different consists, a number of different locomotives running at any point in time, which is why I'm trying to build up the stock of rolling stock and locomotives before I open it up to multiplayer. Where multiplayer is concerned, for ATS, American Truck Simulator, I have not decided whether or not I want to open that up, i.e. start up a convoy stream, which is, convoy session is what they're called in ATS. I haven't decided if I want to open up my ATS to that yet or not. Now those videos actually do pretty well. The 2 videos that I've released so far get for what they are, and how close to Christmas they were released. They did pretty well. I was rather impressed by their performance, right? Just right off the bat. Let's see. Oh, we are rolling. Okay. Let's just get our... Okay, we're not rolling. Which means the brake on the caboose is on. That seems right. So we'll come over here and shut it then. Release it. There we go. And I believe we've got 12 of these, so we're gonna get... We're ultimately gonna get a few more. But, we only need 5 this time, so that's what we're going to take out of here. We've just got to bring the whole line out to get the caboose. But yeah, I haven't really decided if I want to do a convoy session yet on ATS. Ultimately, yes, I do want to do them, but I think I've already, whether willingly or not, I've already kind of set a standard for this channel in that... one, I'm not the highest energy person out there. I know that. I understand that. And 2, I'm not really someone who really likes to do wild, off-the-wall things. Okay, so I'm going to do a real quick count here, so... 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright. That's where we need to unhook. Go back and put these back in the original siding. Hopefully we got the right amount. Oops. Wrong lever. Yeah, if anybody got that reference, you know why I laughed. Yeah. As far as the single player mode goes, I am treating ATS like it's actually a job, you know, professional job, which only is relevant to the fact that I want to keep it as realistic as possible. If I actually cared, if I actually cared about the process the way I did when I was actually driving for other companies, I would absolutely have lost viewers at that point. I absolutely would have, because I took that job very seriously when I was doing it for real, and it's not as easy as it is in that game. So when I'm in the game, I really don't concern myself as much with the professional aspect of it. I just try to keep in a lot of the same habits that I had while I was actually behind the wheel. So that's going to be there. That's going to stay a thing. And I know that's probably not going to appeal to a lot of people, but it is what it is. And I'm, like I said, I'm not the highest energy person. I don't do wild and crazy things. Oh man, the sinus infection's getting me. When you go from 40-degree weather to 80-degree weather back down to 30-degree weather in the course of a week, you tend to not have too many issues getting sick. And I'm recording this now with about, that was a little rough. I'm recording this with about 3 days into a mild sinus infection that I haven't even seen the backside of it yet. So it is what it is. It started right after Christmas, but I kind of figured it would. That's the one that was on. Okay. Mainly because of the massive shifts in the weather. Okay, so when we get this back over to the central depot, we're actually going to have to do a little bit of work. We'll put it in the central, or the center line, but we've got to get the caboose moved over, and we've got, or moved around to the front of the back of the train. Excuse me. Yeah, I can talk. And then we'll have to put the, I know what I'm doing. We'll have to put the state cars on this shorter rake of cordwood cars to complete that train. But yeah, as far as ATS, my plans for next year are more just trying to tell stories of, what, trying to share my experiences on the road, share little bits here and there of information, and if I get enough feedback on it, I will also do silent runs. I won't have a mic. I'll have my mic muted for the run. I'll do a little bit of a tell as to what's going to happen in the episode and what's not. I'll start the episode off talking about the load and all that good stuff, like I have been so far, and then I'll just mute the mic and drive. If I get enough feedback on whether or not that's an option, that'll be a thing. And something I was talking to my mother about, she watches these videos, the difficulty that I have recording the ATS videos, which you would think they would be insanely difficult to record. They're actually not. They're actually really, really easy. A lot of what you see in the episode is uncut. I'll cut out a few things here and there, a few seconds here and there, like when I'm fueling the truck, or I have to take a break from driving for a moment to do something, or just whatever. If something really, really catastrophic goes wrong, I may cut it out. But otherwise, those episodes are largely uncut. What you see is what was recorded. So the ability to record those, 2 or 3 or 4 at a time is much more conducive to almost daily posting of those videos. And to kind of give an idea of that, I had a little bit of extra time on Christmas Day to do some recording, and I hadn't expected it, but neither myself nor my mother were really feeling up to doing much of anything after dinner, in regards to the trees that we've got to cut up and have been working on over the course of the last week um, in my front yard. Now, the reason I say that is because I actually did do some recording for ATS, and I currently have 2 episodes waiting to be edited. One of those will be going up this week. So, what I was thinking about was, instead of doing one of those videos per week, if I have the time to sit down and record 2 of those episodes in a night, what I could do is build up a stockpile of videos and edit them to the point of basically just being able to well, that's nice. Where? There we go. Okay. It looked like the state cars were rolling instead of me. um, being able to edit them, a day or 2 before I post them, after I've got like 10 or 15 ready to go. I'll record a couple and then edit one, so that I've just got a regular stock built up, and I'd have enough to do throughout the year. Yeah, that's what I want to do right there. We're going to move the caboose over to this other line here real quick, and then we'll grab those stake cars and move them over in front of the cordwood. But yeah, ATS is really easy to record and edit, so I may end up making that more of a daily thing as far as releases go. I may also start shooting shorter episodes of eight of Railroads Online, to kind of give me a better edit, better time editing these videos. This one by itself is going to be a little bit shorter than normal. I'm already an hour in, and I know there's going to be a fair amount cut out. So that's not really a concern. I know this one's going to be a 2 or 3 hour record session, but it's going to be shorter overall. The main focus of this video, since we're so close to the end of the year now, is just basically me going over my plans for next year. But that said, I do want to do more videos next year, and with ATS being so easy to record, I think I could do that. I think I could do, once I get a stockpile of them, I could do a video a day. When I don't put out a Railroads video or a video on another game, I could do an ATS video. And I don't see where that would be too big of a problem. What I do see being an issue is being able to keep up that schedule with the work that I'm going to be doing later on in the year. I am still helping out my mother and my father with the properties that we own, I'm still working on uh, on my writing and on the gaming. So if everything works out, I shouldn't have to have a job for the foreseeable future. There's other things going on, but that's the lion's share of it. Um, but yeah, I would greatly in the new year in as the year goes on, I would greatly enjoy opening this server or this map up to multiplayer and doing streams and doing pre-recorded sessions. Um, I would also greatly enjoy doing pre-recorded multiplayer sessions in ATS as well as streams. So what I'm doing now is basically moving this train over to the line that the caboose is sitting on. Uh, because I really don't want to have to do more moves than necessary. I'm already doing one more maneuver than necessary to get the caboose hooked up. But we'll get there in the end, and it will be easier for me to get everything situated. We are going to bring out the other caboose. I'm going to have a caboose on each one of these trains. We're just going to slide. I think I've got the brakes fully on. Yep. Okay. That's something that I don't particularly like to do is hit them like that. Hit the couplers together like that. Um, and the reason I don't like to do that, and it's stupid. It's a really stupid reason. Is I when I started playing train games, I started playing on a game called or not Train, Trains, as spelled with a Z, by a game by a now defunct company called Aron, and they had a what was essentially a simulator that uh, you just drove trains around a pre-built map, or you could build your own map. And the simulator was at for its time and for what it was so realistic that if you back down on a train hard enough, you would actually break the couplers. So that's the reason that I don't like to back down on these trains too hard. And for me, too hard is just a bit less than what you saw me back down on that caboose. Um, but in real life, they don't you don't back down on the consist with any degree of speed. For one, you don't you don't want to actually break the couplers. You don't want to damage the locomotive or the car that you're backing down onto. Or if you're putting two cars together, you don't want to damage either one of the cars. Um, Another thing that you definitely don't want to do is you don't want to end up coming back at speed like what I'm doing now, ramming into the car, and sure, you'll damage the cars, but what you're also going to do is if you've got somebody back there that's standing between the locomotive and the car that you're backing down on, and this was a big thing in the UK when they or before they got smart about it and had people stand off to the side and back the locomotives down, is you would crush somebody if you came down too fast and the car and the locomotive or the cars came together too fast, you'd kill somebody. It would crush them. I mean, you're looking at, even back in the earliest days of steam, you're looking at something that weighed 2 to 3 to 4 times as much as a typical four passenger sedan does today. A 4 passenger car. So, you know, that's another reason I don't like to back down so hard on trains or come up to them so fast that I bang the couplers together. So this is usually about a pretty decent uh, approach speed for me. And this is what I would consider a good a good impact speed. You weren't really, or a good coupling speed. You weren't really at any risk of damaging the vehicles. I do believe there's a law. It's not a. It's kind of a general rule in the or the rail traffic industry that anything above, I think it's what, I could be wrong. Somebody please correct me on this. Anything above 5 miles an hour is considered a collision. I would sooner believe that it's anything above 2 miles an hour because of how heavy these vehicles are. And a lot of times you will see, um, and I need to switch those. Oh no, I don't. Okay, they're right. A lot of times in videos you'll see, or if you work in the industry, you'll see the locomotive actually come to a full stop before being given clearance to complete the maneuver. And that to me is probably one of the smartest things that could be done when coupling a locomotive or a pair of cars. Because one, you give the person standing back there watching the couplers plenty of time to get the hell out of the way. For one, I mean, if the guy's just absolutely that stupid, there's nothing you could do about that. That they've got to be really stupid for that to happen. If the locomotive actually has to come to a stop before backing down on a train. It also prevents the couplers from being cocked off to one side or the other, which can and does happen. And that would cause a massive problem if the locomotive were just to come in and put the two ends together in such a way. You see, I'm just barely crawling. I'm still feathering the brake here. That is the easiest thing in the world to do. It doesn't have nearly the problem as, oh come on, there it is. It doesn't have nearly the problem as just ramming speed, as it were. So that's taken care of. That's coupled. So we're going to go ahead and put the Montezuma away. And I will get back with you when we get that taken, or when we get Eleanor turned around, and we will take one of these. We'll take the trains up the mountain. Alrighty, I am back, and we're getting ready to pull around the two trains here that we've got waiting on us. And I think what we're going to do, just to kind of show you guys what's going on with the line, and to give you an idea of how it would operate in real life, and possibly even in the multiplayer sessions. We're going to take this first train here with the state cars. We're going to take it up the mountain first, which means that we're going to end up having to stop at the we're going to have to stop at the sawmill to get a load of lumber. Now, for right now, I think it would probably be a better idea to get a full rake of just the one type of lumber so that we can at least get a start on it. And then we will come back with a full rake of the other type once we get the that was a little harder than I would like. Once we get the main bulk of the cargo, for lack of better word, the goods in, or rather the goods out. Filled up, populated, whatever you want to call it. I'm having trouble thinking at the moment. So this locomotive is actually fairly robust. It actually has a lot of pulling power. But for what we're going to ultimately end up doing, it's not really enough. As you notice, we've only got 10 cars here, not including the caboose. And ultimately what we want is to have 20 to 25 cars to go up the mountain. And the reason for that is that we want to make as few trips as possible while doing the most work possible. So we've got a rake of cordwood up here. We need to stop and pick up a rake of lumber, be it beams or planks. Probably going to be beams. That's just the first one that's there. And as we get things running and industries functioning, we would stop at the coal mine and pick up a rate of coal as well to populate and fill the coal tipple and the smelter. Or not the smelter, but the ironworks. So we're going to use the space bar here, and we're going to save ourselves a little bit of time. The iron ore mine takes both types of lumber, but the issue is it takes quite a bit. So we'd actually have to make several of these trips with the stake cars to get enough lumber to load it completely. So we're not going to worry too much about that right now. I'm going to load one side and then the other, and we'll go from there. Once the actual output side is full, we will we'll fill the input side like we do here with the raw material. So that's not going to be too difficult to maintain. For the smelter, the amount of iron ore that we need is, compared to just about everything else, immense. So we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 units of beams, and we need 30, I think. Yeah, we need 30. So we'd actually have to send a complete rake of 10 state cars up the hill to, oops, to make that, or to fill that, that industry. Or at least that side of the industry. But we're going to actually take the bypasses. And it looks like almost all of our switches were set. So I know there's no switches on the way down, or on the way up there. And we're actually going to stop, we're actually going to nose our locomotive in to this Y here, set the brakes for the, and set the brakes for the train. And then we're going to pull our locomotive around and have it wait while we switch out the state cars, while we have a new locomotive switch out the state cars. So, back on the subject of what I want to do next year, I do have plans for other games. I've got almost 100 sitting in my wish list right now. Only a few of those are actually going to get played. But I want to get into some of the racing games. I'm thinking like BeamNG, Assetto Corsa, you know, things like that. And I've got the sim rig set up for ATS, but it would be a fairly quick swap over to racing. That wouldn't be too much of an issue. So if that's something that you guys want to see on this channel, by all means let me know. Like I said, this particular video is kind of showcasing the new portion of the line, the completed portion. But mostly it's sharing my plans for next year. Assuming all goes well in the slow season and on into next year, things will begin to pick up a little bit in terms of video output. But yeah, Railroads Online and ATS are going to continue to be a thing throughout the year. Those are going to be a continuous running series. I'm not gonna shut those down unless it just, for whatever reason, there's nothing else to do in them. Yeah. As far as ATS goes, I can only share so many experiences of my own. I hope to get some stories from other people. I know my father's got a few stories about his time driving for a company called Iowa Beef, which is no longer in existence. He's got some stories that he could share on that, but I doubt I'll ever get him to sit down and do commentary with me. He and I just don't get along very well. But yeah, if folks want to throw their comments in, you know, I'll be happy to read them off and all that, you know, share their stories for that. You know, like I said, my experience is finite, and I can only share so much before I start repeating stuff. here on Railroads Online, it's kind of the same way. My knowledge of the railroading industry is only, you know, it only goes so far, and I can't imagine that I'll have very much more left to share of my knowledge here before too very long. But maybe some other folks will have stories to share. Maybe other folks will, you know, come in and say, hey, you made a mistake here, or this is how it would actually work, and I can share that too. But, you know, like I said, ATS and Railroads Online, those are going to be long-running series. Those are basically the go-tos for this, as I've found, the go-tos for this channel. Now, this line, I didn't intend to make it a single line the whole way up the mountain, but it kind of ended up being better in the long run to do that. I probably could put in a parallel line, but given the length of the trains that are going to be going up and down this line, I figured it would probably be better just to leave it as a single line. And, you know, everything works on this. It's all 1%. I kept it at 1% specifically so that this locomotive, which right now is our strongest locomotive, could make it up with a 10 or 15 car train. And what I'm seeing right now is that we could run 15 cars. It's not having any issue climbing right now, which is fantastic. But it's a continuous 1% grade the entire way up. I think it might go up to 1.5 at some point, but most of this is a continuous 1% grade. And I've already trialed everything, I've already tested everything, everything's connected. There are no more trees in the track, which I did run into already. But we've already passed the point where I ran into that issue, so no worries there. Yeah, as far as the channel goes, that's pretty much it. Railroads Online and ATS are going to continue. BioShock and shorter games like that, I'm not really sure on. It doesn't seem like they're going to do all that well. There might be other shorter games that I could incorporate. You know, I do thoroughly enjoy first-person shooters. I like third-person as well, but it's not quite so much. To me, the mechanics are a little bit more difficult to get my head wrapped around, which isn't saying a whole lot. You know, I don't have a problem playing them. I enjoy them, but they're just not as easy for me to play as first-person. To me, the aiming always seems a little bit off. But yeah, as far as that goes, games like BioShock or Call of Duty may or may not continue much past next year. I had originally intended to do BioShocks 1, 2, and 3 and see how they did, but it doesn't appear that that BioShock is doing very well at all. So after I get done recording and uploading all of the content for that game, or all the playable content anyway, it will be a while before I decide to do BioShock 2. If you guys want to see it, let me know. If you don't, if you don't assume it, or if you don't let me know that you want to see it, I'll assume you don't want to see it, and I probably won't record it. racing games in general. Um, the only one that I really have any idea of what I want to do is BeamNG, and that one I'm kind of on the fence on, mainly because I don't have a solid plan, and it kind of builds off of a series that another YouTuber was doing, and I really don't want to step on their toes to do it. But you know, that's just one of those deals where I'd have to get in contact with that YouTuber and say, hey, you know, this is what I'm wanting to do, and so on and so forth. But yeah, for that, I think, you know, for that, as far as that goes, I think next year will be mostly focused around Railroads Online and ATS. I may be able to get ETS, European Truck Simulator. I know it's actually ETS 2, but you know, I may be able to get it and get the DLC for it and all that good stuff. We'll have to wait and see how finances roll out for that. But yeah, that's pretty much, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what the channel's going to be doing next year, what my plan is for it. For the business, for Psycho Fox Studios, next year, a lot like this year ended up being, is going to be very centered around getting my writing done, getting the book that I'm writing ready to be published, and starting on the next one. I've also got a project in Blender that I'm working on. That's it. You know, I've mentioned it before on a previous episode of this game, that I am working on building designing from scratch and building a pedal-powered car. What is essentially a pedal-powered car. And that is progressing slowly. I've kind of been focusing my time on the gaming channel. I haven't really been in the mindset to do much work on the book or the quadricycle, which is the pedal-powered car. But next year, that's going to be a little bit different. I'm 2.5 to 3 chapters away from having the manuscript on the book done. If you guys want to know about the work that I do for Psycho Fox Studios, comment, let me know. That I've been in business for, looks like we're here already. I've been in business for about 5 years now, and I don't really do a whole lot with it. It's kind of a hobby type deal. I'm not really doing too very much in terms of getting everything set up and underway. I know what I want to do with it and what I don't want to do with it. Okay. So we are here at the iron ore mine. So we're going to go ahead, come back here, and set the brakes on the caboose. And hopefully it won't roll away because we're on a grade. And we're going to come back here, and we're actually going to uncouple this coupling right here. And it looks like it's going to roll away. So I need to set another brake. Yep, I need to set another brake. Okay. So that's good. That's good information to have. We know we're going to roll away if we do that. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to set this brake. And I'm going to set the next brake. If I can find it. There we go. Now I'm going to take this locomotive. That should just... yeah, okay. I'm going to take this locomotive down to the turntable. I'm not going to turn it around, but I'm going to take it down to the turntable, or down toward that line, and we're going to park it. Now the reason we're going to just park it down here instead of running this all the way around so that we're back where we started, essentially, is because this... okay, let's go ahead and park it here. And we're just going to leave it there. This yard is far too small for this locomotive to successfully navigate. So we're actually going to come over here, and I've got another 060 tank engine that I have named after a particularly well-liked song. Anybody know what it might be? I think you might. But we're going to come up here and we're going to turn our lights on, and we're going to get this locomotive ready to go. Now we've got pressure in the boiler, so I'm not too worried about that. But we're going to have to build the heat for a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back around, and we're going to pick up these 5 cars. And really what I should have done, and I think I will, I'll just pull that whole train through so that we actually, come on, map, so that we can actually just back down on it from over here, or from over here, and carry on that way. So this little locomotive is in a little bit rougher shape than the one down in the lumberyard, but that's by design. I don't want all of these locomotives to look the same, and I've only got a limited pool that I can draw from. So this locomotive looks like it's in rougher shape, and my map lore for that is that this locomotive has been around a lot longer than the one up at the sawmill, or not the sawmill, the lumberyard. So it's been around a lot longer. They really haven't been taking too much care of it. It's pretty beat up, pretty well used, and just in general not in that great a shape. One could almost say it's in bad need of a new coat of paint. But it will still do the job. Fairly certain I'm now lost. I'm looking at it from a different angle than what I'm looking at it in game. Like, I'm looking at the map at a different angle than what I'm looking at it here. I should be looking at it like this, but I was looking at it like this, and it's like, where in the heck am I? But yeah, you can already kind of see how tight the radius is on this line. The center wheel of this locomotive is not flanged. It's a flat wheel. And it is on and off the on and off the rail
Oh,
constantly. It's not really connected to the rail the way the front and rear axle is, which, you know, it's not really too bad of a thing, but it would make something the size of Eleonora almost impossible to navigate, you know, to successfully navigate around this yard. And you'll see why here in a moment. Okay, so that was a little bit. There we go. We're gonna go and pick up the rest of those cars, and we're just gonna take them around. That's what we can do that here. It's not a true loop. It's kind of a makeshift figure eight. It's not a true loop. Okay, and we're actually dragging the. No, we're not. Okay, it looked like we were dragging the locomotive with us. So we want to just come forward a little bit and hook back up to those. Okay, it was a little bit harder than I'd wanted to, but it'll be all right. So this is actually how this portion of the yard is going to function normally. We're going to have the train come in. The main locomotive is going to stop and detach from the train, and then this little uh, this little locomotive is going to, hopefully, if I can get the train moving in the correct direction, is going to bring the whole thing around and unload what needs to be unloaded. So it looks like this locomotive's not having too much of an issue hauling this train around here. So that's a good sign. Now we'll see how it does with the load and unload process. Because once we get to the point where we can, we're going to have plenty of rolling stock down here in the yard that we can attach to this train once we get it down to the point where we need to have these cars unloaded and the ore cars loaded. So we're going to go ahead and unload now. And I can't see past that tree. But we're going to try and keep it rolling here. We've only got 5 of these, so... Okay. And there goes 15. I think we're gonna miss it. Nope, we got it. Okay, good. All right, so let's go ahead and keep going here. And were we to have any ore cars, we would be hooking them up to this same train and taking them up the mountain as well. But they would be loaded, where these would now be unloaded, ready for the trip back down with the finished product from the smelter. Helps if I'm on the right line. As you can see, this is a pretty tight little yard here. I mean, you guys saw that when I was building it, so I can't imagine it's too much of a surprise. But you can see how this train is really pretty tightly bent around. Leave that there. And before I detach this locomotive from the train, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring Eleonora back around so that we're actually on the other side of this switch. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. Stop it pretty close to here. And we will sit right there. And I'm going to go grab Eleonora over here. I can't see where I'm at. And we will back her down and get back on the correct line here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and brake right there. Set the reverser to full back and go and move our little guy here. Put both those switches in place. Now, if I really wanted to, I could leave that train right there, but I want to move it a little bit further up the line here. If I can get it moving. Come on. Getting this train moving around that curve is not as easy as you might think it would be. And the reason I am bringing this train just a little bit further up, we're actually going to park it on this switch. The reason I'm bringing it a little further up is with how tight this yard is, I don't want to take the chance of having the larger locomotive go down through any of the curves to get a hold of this, to get a hold of the train. And that may not seem like any, really a big deal, but there's a chance that the locomotive could derail. And I'm not really sure that I want to take that chance. You're going to notice right off the bat, whoops, if I have the reverser set in the right direction. You're going to notice that we're putting this locomotive away backwards from where we pulled it out. Now, being as this locomotive is basically going to stay at this yard consistently, that's not an issue. That's not something we're ever going to need to worry about, because this locomotive will turn itself around millions and millions of times over the life of this map. So we're not worried about that in the least. Alright, so let's get that switch set. We'll go ahead and attempt to slowly back down onto this train. We shouldn't have too much of an issue doing that, though. It's kind of in an awkward position because it's parked on that switch, but it should be okay. Come on. You can do it. A little further. There we go. Okay. So now, with that brake on, turn my light off. We'll take these two off and continue on up the mountain. I see we're already rolling, so this thing wants to go. I thought we had our brake on, but apparently we didn't. Nope. Hold it. Helps if I have the reverser set in the right direction. I'm just full of mistakes today. Okay, I'm going to check switches on our way up. There we go. Now, before I started recording, I was debating on whether or not to bring another line over from this point here in the yard, which, you know, this point right here, or up in here where the crossover is, and bringing it around, and bringing it around the mountain and back over to this particular yard. And then I got to thinking, you know, that really wouldn't be, it really wouldn't be necessary to do that. Because there's no, other than coal, there is no reason for me to have a line that goes up that way. I mean, we're going to have enough boxcars, we're going to have enough flatbeds, enough stake cars to get the goods where they need to go. We're going to have enough locomotives to get, you know, for their respective areas. We're going to have enough locomotives to get the goods to where they need to go. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So something I noticed when I was testing this line out is the second leg up the mountain. So from the iron ore mine to the smelter, the second leg is actually pretty. It's a pretty wild ride going back down, because the locomotive likes to rock and roll on the curves. Now, I hadn't really designed the layout to do that, but I suppose it makes sense, given that we're doing 20 mile an hour now, and it starts to rock and roll about 23, 24 miles an hour. Which is kind of, you know, it's kind of as fast as this locomotive is going to go. We can kind of push a little bit more speed out of it. We're hauling essentially half of what this locomotive's capacity is for this line. But yeah, for the moment, all we're going to be doing over the next few running sessions is just getting everything built up and ready. I may do offline running sessions, or off-camera running sessions, to get everything built up. I think this is the only part of the line right here that's better than 1% grade. I think this is the only part right here, is this curve. I know there's a couple of points that in these really shorter sections that runs easily to 2.5%. but there's such short stretches that it really doesn't matter. And the only reason I do that is so, or that the line does that is to get it to match back up with the other line in terms of elevation. But yeah, if anything that I've said on this video, you can kind of see the locomotive starting to rock and roll a little bit. If anything I've said in this video makes any sense at all, you know, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I want to know you guys' opinion on, you know, what all I've got planned, or more or less planned for this channel in the coming year. This video is going to be, I'm recording it the same day I'm going to be releasing it, which is why I want to keep it a little bit shorter. But ultimately, I just wanted to run my thoughts by you guys, and it's been a good long while since we've done a proper running session, so I figured what better way to do that than what better way to let you guys know what my thoughts were than to showcase the new line. You guys have seen quite a bit of it getting built, and what you haven't seen getting built was basically just a repeat of the parts that you had seen. Now that said, I've still got the oil industry to put together, and that'll be a fair ways away from now. Probably 3 or 4 weeks at the most, maybe a little longer. If I feel like we should just keep working with this for a while, but yeah, ultimately this particular series for this map is ultimately coming to its not so much end, but climax in terms of what can be done, what is being done, and you know, basically just calling the railroad finished and opening up to multiplayer for anybody that wants to join in on running this map. Now that said, I'll probably wait a week or two before I start my next map after this one's finished. But yeah, for the most part, this map is getting pretty close to being done. Still got the oil industry to run line to, but for the most part, it's just going to be running sessions for the next few weeks. And then I think after we get everything built up and we get everything introduced, I'll go ahead and take a break from this map, and we'll go ahead and get a new one started. But I'll take a short break for this series. I'll take a short break while I figure out what I want to do and get the next map started. Because like on this one, I'm not going to start from scratch on camera. That you guys have seen the building. You've seen, you know, basically my process for building the map. So I don't really see a need to go through the startup process. when it's essentially just the same thing, and it's a fair bit of me just figuring out, you know, where I want to start the map, where I want to, you know, where I want to run the line to begin with. So we are coming up here to the back side of the yard, and like I said in my last build video regarding this yard, this is pretty much the direction that we're going to be approaching it from. And we're actually going to be going over to the arrival side of the yard, and we're going to be going into the closest siding here, or the closest line here to the hump, and we're just going to be taking the we're just going to be basically offloading the cordwood and just leaving it sit. We may also be I may decide we could just go ahead and just offload the whole train altogether. And in fact, I think that's exactly what we'll do. And since we've got a roundhouse up here, I'll just go ahead and back the locomotive into the roundhouse and call it an episode there. So, with that, I want to say thank you guys for joining me on this first run up to the smelter. And I've said this a couple of times already in the video. If you've liked what you've seen here today, leave a like on the video and comment and let me know what you guys want to see more of, what you guys want to see less of. I'm always open to suggestion. I'm always open to feedback. The Patreon is now live, so if you guys want to go ahead and check that out, the link is in the description below, and you can see you can see the address there on screen somewhere. But if you guys can't manage, if you can't justify the price of subscribing to Patreon, just go ahead and subscribe here. It's all the same to me. You know, I enjoy seeing you guys leave likes and leave comments. So I certainly look forward to seeing you guys in the comments. I certainly look forward to seeing you guys in the subscriber list. And I'm still working on a solidify. Whoa, what the heck? Hey, I guess it's a good thing I was still talking. What the heck happened? That's interesting. Okay. Well, I guess it's a good thing I was still talking. You guys got to see a derailment after all. So we're going to bring this guy back up here. We're going to bring the tender back up here. And we're going to find out why that switch decided to re-switch. I probably just forgot to do it. But we're there now, so it's all good. So let's see if it actually hooked, and it did. Okay. But yeah, I'm still, as stupid as it is, even, you know, 3.5 months down the line, I'm still working on a proper outro. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm not perfect. It takes a long time to get into a groove. But, yeah. Okay, well, mistakes abound. Looks like I got some more trees to cut out. See, this is what I was talking about. They can't be that close to the line. So we've got that one. This one made me a little leery. So now I got to re-rail this dang thing again. That's nice. I didn't realize the throttle was still open. But yeah, I'm still working on the outro. But yeah, leave a like, leave us leave a comment, subscribe here, Patreon, wherever you want, and let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I'm always open to suggestion. I'm always open to criticism, so long as it's not deliberately hurtful. I'd love to hear it. Negative criticism, as long as it's constructive, is not a bad thing. And I think a lot of people are afraid of getting their feelings hurt or hurting other people's feelings. Less so on the latter, but, it is what it is. But I'm not so thin-skinned that I can't take a little bit of criticism. So, yeah, by all means, let me know what you guys think. Oh, too far. I need to be centered. I need to be centered or this turntable won't turn. Or at least it wouldn't in real life. I don't know how it works in this game. So with that, I want to thank you guys. Oh, come on. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. And as we get this locomotive turned, I will see you in the next one.